Breaking news, if you haven't heard, the 5 beaches of Ipswich are actually open for swimming for the holiday weekend, and that's great news. It doesn't change the whole impact of what's happening right now. And by the way, can I name those 5 beaches? No, I can't. But don't be mean. I will get there. I've only lived here 8 years. But it's interesting, our episode today is topical because of what's happening with the Merrimack River. As we all know, we have a large wastewater spill, and it's not good in many ways. And the biggest impact, of course, being long-term environmental impact, which is something I want to get some more insight from our guest, Bill Sargent, local author, writes about the environment, why coastal towns like Ipswich are living inside the climate story, the current river crisis that we're just talking about, and why horseshoe crabs may be ancient, strange, and quietly essential, for that matter. I'm John Wolforth, and welcome to the Sane Estate, where Ipswich stories unfold one guest conversation at a time, usually before I fully understand what's happening. Today, I'm super pleased to be with Bill Sargent, as I just mentioned, longtime observer of the coast, which has incited him to write many books about the coast and the environment in general, some of which I have here. Crab Wars, a tale of horseshoe crabs, bioterrorism, and human health sounds amazing to me because one of the first creatures I ever met was a horseshoe crab, and that's all I'm going to say about that, to quote Forrest Gump. Another book is The House on Ipswich Marsh. Again, probably really good, insightful book about our local environment and how we all relate to it. And Bill's latest book is called Scoop. And Scoop is an environmental novel about 3 feisty reporters and a photographer traveling the world to report on the environment and how to protect it. And they travel in a lot of cool places, including Cape Cod. I don't see Ipswich here. What's up, Bill? No Ipswich in that one?
You don't need to mention that. They come from Cape Cod, a couple of them.
Fine. We'll just run with that then. But anyway, as we know, you always still come back to places we know when you write about these situations and the events that happen, like Plum Island, like Salisbury, like our beautiful town here that we all live in, known as Ipswich. Well, Ipswich. But anyway. And then horseshoe crabs again. We're going to talk about those. Environmental stories can seem distant until they close your beach, threaten your shellfish beds, which, my heart goes out to the clam guys because they can't make a living right now with this situation. These types of things can cause flooding. Or it could, just be someone who comes into town claiming they know better than the locals. So, being that Haverhill is dealing with this major sewer force main break and sent all this untreated wastewater to the Merrimack River, we're one of the communities that had to close the beaches. But again, the good news is they are open as of today, which is great for the holiday weekend. But we need to keep monitoring the water quality and just be aware of what's happening because this is not over by any means. Anyway, so again, Bill, let's talk about these things. Let's get to it. What do you think? Welcome to the Sane Estate.
Thank you very much.
So, as I mentioned, you've spent much of your life writing about science, the ocean, and the environment, right?
Right.
So, when you begin a project, a book, I guess we'd call it's really a book, right? Usually.
Yeah.
What intrigues you or inspires you to write about that particular subject? Is it the science, the place it is happening, or the problem itself? Because I would lean towards the problem itself. What do you think?
Usually I tackle the problem by dealing with a local area, because you can make a nice sort of personal local story, and it's sort of like writing a novel. When you write a novel, you don't want to write like a Russian novel with 30 different characters and it gets very complicated. It's much better if you have a tight little story with only 2 or 3 people I feel the same thing is true when you're writing about science or writing about natural history. If you're writing about the Ipswich River or the Merrimack River or Plum Island or Cape Cod, then you can talk about a lot of different problems and situations.
Okay, that makes a lot of sense. And being that that's the situations and the things that you write about, where do you see all this? Well, I mean, you keep coming up with inspired to write another book, and how many do you have now?
27, I think.
27. Yeah,
yes.
that's what I was going to say. Darn, that's amazing. And
A couple of those were kids' books. I put my back out and I couldn't do my regular writing, so I wrote some kids' books, which were a lot more fun.
well, that's amazing. Yeah,
Yeah,
I love kids' books.
Yeah.
I actually wrote a couple myself, but
Cool.
this isn't about me. So the latest book being Scoop, right? It goes between like large global things and very specific local places, but not Ipswich this time, right?
Well,
The new book is not Ipswich, but
right. Again, some of the reporters are from Ipswich,
Okay.
and so I have a couple of them. My first chapter in that book, and actually this happened to me a number of years ago. I was at a high school reunion, and I started talking with a guy that I actually hadn't known very well in school, but we realized we were both going to be on the west coast of Florida. And I was writing about sea level rise, and Trump had just been elected. And I said, well, gee, wouldn't it be interesting if we drove across the state and, Mar-a-Lago was only 4 feet above sea level. So I thought this would be kind of cool. So,
Yeah.
so we drove across the state. And I figured, the Secret Service was going to turn us around at the bayou, but we got over the bayou.
Really?
And then all of a sudden we drove right by Mar-a-Lago. And then we went up to the next street, and there was a cop car there, but it was empty. So we figured it was a decoy. So we got out, and we made our way through a hedge, and all of a sudden we were on the front lawn of Mar-a-Lago. So,
oh my God! So like the guy in the
Yeah.
bushes at the golf course.
yeah,
Luckily, they didn't think you were one of those.
yeah. So we were taking pictures like crazy for about 15 minutes. Absolutely no security. Finally, a groundskeeper
Interesting.
came over and said, this is private property and you'll have to leave. And we said, oh, I'm sorry, we didn't realize. And so, we're from New England, and off we went. But it turned out that Trump had only been elected for 2 weeks, and I think the Secret Service was so busy with all his other residences
Maybe
that
that's
they
why,
were
yeah.
spread so thin they hadn't gotten around to Mar-a-Lago yet. So unless there was a SWAT team up on the top of the building. But it does turn out that we were on exactly the same spot where the kid was killed a few months ago, who was doing an assassination
So
attempt.
that's yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
Wow.
yeah.
See, that's weird,
Yeah.
right?
So a lot of the book is, some of them are based on, incidents like that happened to me, and others are based on, Sylvia Pujoli and various people that you've heard covering different topics, either in the Ukraine or, different parts of the world. And do you know where Sylvia Pujoli comes from?
I do not.
You would think that she grew up and has lived all her life, a very glamorous life in Rome. She grew up in Cambridge.
Wow.
Yeah, and she went to Radcliffe, and she started doing her radio work there.
So she has an Italian accent with a Boston flair.
Yeah, and actually, I don't know if you remember Click and Clack, the Tappet brothers. They always used to talk about Sylvia Pujoli ravioli.
No, I don't think I know that.
And, so they actually knew her
that's
growing
amazing.
up in Cambridge.
So being that that's the case, I mean, the way that you write, is it sort of, do you tie things together locally or places people can identify with to help them basically make it easier to understand how these things are impacted, or how these places are impacted by environmental change.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I think it's much easier to understand a problem if you're talking about the Ipswich River, which is in your own backyard, and you know something about it,
Right.
as opposed to the same situation that might be happening in Siberia. You're just not as interested in it because it's further away and it's not impacting your life.
And being that have you lived in Ipswich your whole life, or?
No, I'm a wash ashore.
Oh, well, that's a different one. A wash ashore.
I grew up in the summers on Cape Cod.
Okay.
And I never outgrew my bug stage, so I was like you. I was hanging around with horseshoe crabs as a kid.
Yep.
And actually, there was an instance where I got very sick and I went into a coma, and my doctor, said there was nothing that he could do. And I went to the Cape Cod Hospital, and then they transferred me to Boston Children's Hospital.
Right.
And I had this wonderful nurse that stayed up with me all night. And the next morning, my mother came in, and the nurse said, "Your son is all right, but I'm afraid there's been some brain damage. He's talking some nonsense about worms, crabs, and bugs." And my mother said, "Oh, that's all right.
That's
all he
normal.
ever does is talk about worms, crabs, and bugs." So they knew it was.
So you're fine.
It was as good as I was ever going to be.
There you go, right? We're all a little, right? There is no normal.
No,
I think abnormal is normal.
we're still in our bug stage.
Yes, for humans, that's true. We were so still primitive, but
Right.
Anyway.
Yeah.
So yeah, okay. So there's a lot of influence on where you live, and so you came to Ipswich, and then you just sort of, again, inspired. Like you just started exploring, and then you started to realize how crucial the ecosystem was, and you probably already were familiar with doing that anyway because you were sort of already into it, right?
Yeah. It was interesting for me. My first book when I was up here was The House on Ipswich Marsh. I called that the book with the impossible title to pronounce.
Really?
And actually, I kind of stole it from. There was a book on the Cape called The House on Nauset Beach, or The House on Nauset Marsh.
Okay.
Much easier to pronounce than The House on Ipswich Marsh. But so I was using the house as kind of a vehicle to talk about the natural history of the area. And for me, it was new. It was very different from what I had grown up with. For one thing, I was living on a field, and I had never lived beside a field before. And same thing now. I'd been around salt water all my life, but I'd never been living beside a river. So these are all sort of new discoveries for me too.
So that's a lot of fascination.
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
It's totally different. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's everything. I mean, there's just so many ecosystems, right? I mean, they're all related, but I mean, there's a lot of independence in those as well.
Right. Yeah.
Obviously, Ipswich is known for its beaches and its clams. It's the beauty of the towns and all of these things. But what do you think people are still not, or maybe refusing to see or acknowledge about this town in the way that it's changing naturally?
Well, this summer, every summer is unique. But this one, we have the lion's mane jellyfish that everybody's been noticing on Cranes Beach and really up and down the coast.
Really?
From New Hampshire all the way down to Cape Cod. You have these lion's mane jellyfish, and they can be up to 6 feet across their bell. And then actually a lot of small fish, like codfish, like immature larval codfish, will live under the bell, and they're actually protected by they have the jellyfish have about 100-foot long tentacles, and they can live, and they're protected by any predators that would come and get them.
That's fascinating because I think I just read about that not that long ago. Within the last year, I swear I read something like that, like how different species help each other out.
Well, it's kind of interesting. There's sort of a new concept that's coming in. It's sort of countervailing to traditional evolutionary thought, Darwinism, that everything is based on competition. And
Right.
now we're realizing that there's an incredible amount of cooperation and interdependence and entanglement. Not too many weeks ago, they came out with a map of the world that showed all the fungal connections underneath every forest, field, and they're all connected, and they can communicate. So,
Yes.
so what they're doing is they can actually communicate electronically, through electrical signals. And there's a lot of debate as, can you consider them a brain? And probably not. I think of them sort of like a jellyfish,
Right.
because there's no specific brain, but there's neural connections. So it's almost like having this jellyfish underneath. But so I'm looking at the Ipswich River watershed now, and it's interesting that that's all connected. From the hills down into the valleys. And actually these fungi can actually grow across. If you have a wooden bridge, they will grow through the bridge to the other side. Yeah. But they're what make a forest healthy, and support the. And we only see the flower, the mushroom,
Right.
when they come up in the fall. But they're underneath there all the time, tying everything together.
That's fascinating. And that's funny. I read about that too. I swear within at least recent memory, I read about the trees just being like essentially one system. Like
Right.
all the trees are, like you just said, connected in a way.
Yeah.
And like will
If-
help each other, like feed each other, right? Like
Yeah.
Especially during drought. Oh, I mean, they'll help distribute or redistribute water
And when
resources.
when one, for instance, if you see beech trees, you'll see a big sort of copse of beech trees.
Yeah.
And they're all one organism. They're all connected. And if often the older tree will pass nutrients to the younger tree through these fungal connections. And then as the older tree dies, the younger trees will feed nutrients back to the older tree. So they're all in contact, and they're all helping each other. I probably shouldn't use that word helping. It's you don't want to be anthropomorphic, but the nutrients go from higher concentrations to lower concentrations.
Okay.
So the younger one, would have fewer.
So why don't you give us some pointers on, this big, not no pun intended, but this big dump of wastewater. What is really going on here environmentally? What are we facing?
It's a hot mess, basically, and this is true. The problem with the Merrimack River is you have a number of not large cities, but sizable cities, small cities, medium-sized cities. They all have wastewater, and in the old days, you actually a lot of houses would be built out over the river. And your latrine would be over you, and everything would just, go in the river.
Sure, right.
And that's basically what's happening in Haverhill right now. Before they put, so you were getting raw sewage that was on its way to the waste treatment plant, but you had two breaks in that 24-inch pipe, and so you had raw sewage that was going into the river. And I think I know all the beaches. I think it's Salisbury, Plum Island, Cranes Beach, Steep Hill, Pavilion.
Look at that.
I think I got them.
I think I had 3 out of 5, so I'm not terrible if I thought about
and
it.
it's not. I mean, I personally, I wouldn't go in the water now for at least a week after they get 2 more tests. And I'm not exactly sure. I mean, I think they still have 2 more tests to go. And if one of those is negative, it might be that the beach is closed down again before the 4th.
So you're saying this is preliminary?
Yeah, you have to have 2 consecutive testing where it comes out negative. So they've opened the beaches, but there's a possibility they might close them again. I don't want to be Debbie Downer, but
I read somewhere that
you might have more recent information than I do.
Well, I'm only going by Ipswich Piss and Moan, okay?
Yeah.
But somebody on there was saying that that the testing, that the values were below the threshold of toxicity.
That's right.
What would it's possible that it could increase, is what you're saying.
Yeah, it kind of depends what the currents are doing, and it's going to fluctuate back and forth, and it's going to now they've done the bypass, so the problem is somewhat settled, but it's still going to take some time to dilute through the water column. I was out on Cranes Beach a couple nights ago, and we were actually doing beach yoga. Mm-hmm. Somebody led us, and it was absolutely beautiful night. There was a nice breeze. There were no bugs, no lightning. The trustee rangers were making sure that they were watching to make sure there was no lightning, mm-hmm. And no other people. So we had the whole beach to ourselves, and it was absolutely a gorgeous night.
That's
but you couldn't go in the water.
Couldn't go in the water, right? I was but there was no odor or anything. I mean, that's
not
like that.
No, yeah.
I mean, it's probably so not filtered out. I shouldn't say that, but diluted by then that the odor is indiscernible.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's obviously. Where do you see this going ecologically in the long run? Is this going to affect, the local wildlife, for example?
Sure. It's you have a problem with the infrastructure on all of these cities. I remember, what was it, a dozen years ago, when all of the discs came down from a waste treatment plant in New Hampshire. Mm-hmm. And then they spread out, all over Cape Cod, down around to Rhode Island, which kind of gives you an idea how far this spill could go also. Right. I mean, I'm expecting it's going to get down, I think, to the other areas on Cape Ann and possibly into Cape Cod Bay. But hopefully by that time it'll be diluted enough so that there won't be other beaches that would be closed.
Ooh, we didn't know that, man.
Yeah. Yeah. And then the other thing is, our ocean waters are getting warmer.
Right.
So you're getting animals like the moon jellyfish that are coming up here. The other one that I'm interested in are blue crabs. And I grew up on what was called Pleasant Bay on Cape Cod. Mm-hmm. And that one of my favorite things to do is I'd go out every morning and scoop up the blue crabs, and they're delicious. I mean, I prefer them to, I shouldn't even say this, but better than lobster.
Strike that.
Strike that.
But what's interesting is I didn't think I even knew that blue crabs were a local delicacy.
Well, they're not. They are actually, Pleasant Bay was as far north as you ever found them. Okay. Now with the waters getting warmer, they've gotten around Cape Cod Bay, and I've seen a few of them up in Ipswich waters. So I'm hoping that, and they're more aggressive than the green crabs.
Really?
So I'm hoping they'll move some of the green crabs out.
Well, so would they be considered an invasive like green crabs are?
No, because they don't eat the shellfish.
Okay.
So
but they'll eat the green crabs.
But they might. They're just more aggressive.
Get out.
Right.
Yeah. That's good. I mean, it's anyway.
Yeah.
So again, along these lines of this disaster, basically is a disaster. What does this say about, older infrastructure? The climate itself. I had Sarah Chalfin on the show before. I don't know if you must know Sarah. And we talked about like heavier rain events and more frequent storms and things like that. And, what is this going to do? We're not ready for these types of things to keep happening.
We're not ready for this heat.
Yeah, and this heat. I mean, it's 100 degrees today, right?
Yeah, yeah.
What can we do about this beyond, the common sense thing would be to finance infrastructure improvements.
Yeah.
And I think we had a bill like that, but then
someone
else decided they didn't want that.
Right, yes.
And now we don't have a bill like that.
Yeah. I actually think, everybody sort of dismisses Biden, but him passing the inflation-fighting bill was incredible. And it was encouraging moving to offshore wind, to solar energy,
right.
All of these things. And the problem that we've always had in New England is we've never had our own source of energy. So we've always been, under the thumb of the Middle East or Texas.
Yeah.
I don't know if you remember the old, the bumper stickers that they had. What was it? Drive 75 or freeze a Yankee or something like that.
I don't remember that, but it's interesting.
Yeah. But so if we had offshore wind, we would have our own supply of energy. And so we were building these offshore, wind farms off of the Cape, Nantucket, Rhode Island, all the way down to Virginia. And then Trump's, tried to stop them. But the Supreme Court has brought them back, so they're continuing. So we're actually moving in the right direction. In my opinion, but I don't think. I remember years ago I was it was kind of a boondoggle, but it was for science writers, and we traveled to Switzerland, and we were going to various companies that were working on environmental problems, and one of them had this idea that you could suck the carbon dioxide out of the atmosphere. And I remember we all thought, no, that's ridiculous.
But now they have technology to do it.
And actually, they were presenting a PowerPoint demonstration. We had been like 2 weeks of PowerPoint demonstrations. And I know you can sleep on your feet because I did it. But anyway, now they have a prototype on Iceland that is removing carbon dioxide.
I saw that article, yes.
Yeah, but it's just not going to meet the problem. I mean, the way you've got to meet the problem is not put the carbon dioxide
in the atmosphere.
Into the atmosphere.
Yeah, because obviously the volume going in is much greater than what they can pull out, I would assume, for at least quite a long time. Well, so what would you say? What would you say to the opponents of green energy who say, well, if it's not windy today and it's nighttime, what do you do?
Batteries.
What's a battery?
Yeah, exactly.
You mean they actually charge batteries?
Yes.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's a thought, huh?
Yeah. So it really doesn't matter. You've charged up your battery during the day with solar energy, and when the wind is blowing, and then you're operating. I just bought myself a hybrid car, and it's the same. It's the same thing. I put in gas, and it supplies the energy to the battery, and then I drive off the energy from the battery.
Correct. Yeah. That was something I learned. We bought a Prius 20 years ago.
Yeah.
And,
you're way ahead of me. I was on the old skinflint, idea, and that was that you hang on to your car as long as you possibly can. So I had a Volvo that was, I think, 24 years old. It had 200,000 miles on it. And I figured it was better to hang on to an old car than, going through the building a new car.
Right.
But finally, that one died, and I was able to get myself a hybrid.
So now you're excited.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, I have a hybrid as well.
Yeah.
And we're thinking the next car would be all electric.
All
the only
electric.
reason we were hesitant to get it all electric was because of the location issue for chargers.
Yeah.
And I'm a little uncomfortable with that.
Yeah, a friend of mine has an all-electric car, and we drove out to New Mexico. Never had a problem. It was just like going to gas stations. And on a Tesla, it shows you on the map where where the stations are, the charging stations.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's cool. And I also found out that
Yep.
newer batteries, actually, and it's evolved also, that they said newer batteries will be able to go 400 miles.
Yeah.
So
Wow.
the battery technology, as you know, is vastly improved.
Yeah.
Due to basically we had to get better at it.
Yeah.
And so we do. I mean, that's humanity in a nutshell. It responds to adversity,
Yeah.
or challenges when it's needed.
Right.
When they're needed to.
Yeah. Yeah.
So speaking of that, we got technology on this side of things, but we also have technology on the side of the natural side. Back to the horseshoe crab
Yeah.
thing, right? So we knew as kids, we didn't think a whole lot of horseshoe crabs. They were just sort of something to
Yeah.
mess around with, right?
Yeah.
We didn't realize what the value of these creatures were, nor
Yeah.
did we know how old they were. I think it took me a long time to realize how old they were.
Yeah.
But where do you see the value in a horseshoe crab? What do they present to medical science and or
Yeah.
biotechnology, right? And
Yes.
that's one side of it, but the other side being, what is their value to the ecosystem?
Yeah. Well, I think that the whole story of horseshoe crabs' use in biomedical, both research and what you do is you use the blue blood of the horseshoe crab as a test for gram-negative bacteria. So all of the COVID tests, all the vaccines, all had to be tested to make sure that they're free of this kind of bacteria. And the way you do that has been with horseshoe crab blood.
That's amazing.
So each horseshoe crab is worth about $1,500 if you use it, for biomedical purposes. You keep it alive and you use it for biomedical purposes. If you chop it up and use it for bait, it's worth about 25 cents a pound.
Wow.
And Massachusetts has frankly we're one of the rogue states. Our regulations have been so lax that several of the companies are getting their horseshoe crabs from Massachusetts.
That's why the guy in the overcoat out there was like, "I got some horseshoe crabs, man. That
Yep.
can get you a good deal."
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
cool. Are horseshoe crabs? Are horseshoe crabs?
Yeah.
The only creature with blue blood?
No, there are other. It's basically very ancient crabs because they developed their blood before there was that much oxygen in the air.
And it didn't evolve?
No, and it's not quite as effective as oxygen-based blood, but it worked fine for them. The other thing they did is they developed a very primitive but very effective immune system. And it's this immune system that we use as a test for the gram-negative bacteria.
Are they endangered?
They're commercially endangered. And so there are 3 bills in Massachusetts now to try to stop taking the horseshoe crabs, both for bait and for biomedical purposes. And the first bill says that both will be ended by 2029, which there is a synthetic form of horseshoe crab blood that could be used for testing. Okay. But it's going to take the companies. A lot of the companies say it's not as sensitive. It's going to be more expensive for them. They're going to have to buy new equipment. So it's going to take them some time to transition to that. And they, they'll drag their feet a bit. There's another bill that would just stop the use of horseshoe crabs for bait. And I think that's kind of the fallback position. And to my mind, that's the most crucial thing, because what you have now is what's called a rent-a-crab policy, which means the bait fishermen can go out and catch the crabs, sell them to the companies for biomedical purposes, and then take them back and use them for bait. So you're taking what should be entirely sustainable fisheries and make it, 100% mortality.
That's
crazy.
Brilliant.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Humans. Yeah.
Yeah.
We are complex. Okay.
Right. Yeah.
But that being the case, I mean, we know horseshoe crabs they're important to the ecosystem. I would think like any other creature.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, what is it beyond what we know?
They're kind of a keystone species, so they're very important to an estuary. Their eggs supply food. I have some pictures of them, and you can see, the horseshoe crab is laying eggs here, and the little Menidia, the silver sides, are feeding on the horseshoe crab eggs, and then there's a striped bass that's feeding on the silver sides, and then there's a guy who just caught a striped bass in the background. So this was all one photograph.
So there you go. There it is. Right. That's a cross section of the part that contributes to the ecosystem.
Yeah. So and then of course the other thing is there are about 6 endangered species of birds that are dependent on horseshoe crab eggs for their migrations. The ones you always hear about are red knots, and they come from Tierra del Fuego, and they're flying all the way up to the Arctic Circle, but they time their migrations so that they're in Delaware Bay when the horseshoe crabs are mating. So they'll eat about 40 tons of horseshoe crab eggs in 2 weeks, and then that gives them the fuel to go up to the Arctic Circle so they can start laying eggs right away. And they get up there before the insects have even hatched out, so they need this. So the red knots have been declining because the horseshoe crabs were being used for bait.
Yeah. Interesting. Wow.
Yeah.
So that's one of the bills that they're trying to get passed, is to prevent that.
Yes. Yeah. And Delaware has passed some bills now, but Massachusetts and Virginia were the 2 rogue states. It's embarrassing to have to say that, but it's true.
Interesting.
Yeah. And actually there was a guy in Delaware, and he used to have, he had a big barge, and it would be covered with thousands and thousands of horseshoe crabs, and he would land them in Virginia because of the regulations would allow him to. He'd land them in Virginia and then truck them up to Delaware and sell them.
That's amazing. That's crazy stuff.
Yeah.
It's amazing what goes on that you don't know about, right?
Exactly.
So much
Yeah.
All right. So just to finish up here, so after all the environmental changes that you've seen and experienced and written about, what keeps you from just wanting to slit your throat or being so cynical, that we're doomed? What gives you hope to think that we're going to get on the right path here?
I'm not sure. I think we are starting to move in the right direction. Despite the roadblocks, we are starting to move in the right direction towards green energy, and that's certainly something to be optimistic about. Whether we can all do this in time, I mean, this is a real wake-up call to us. We're going to step out that door and get hit with a solid, heat wave. And these are, scientists are now saying this is the hottest year on record so far.
Right.
Because virtually every year we're having more and more heat waves, we're having more and more floods, we're having more and more droughts, and we've passed several tipping points.
Yeah.
And hopefully this is going to wake us up and realize we really have to say, make major changes.
Well, if I understand, the warming target has changed as far as what we can achieve to reduce, prevent the temperatures from going, what I think it was, beyond 2 degrees Celsius, a rise.
Yeah.
The median temperature of the planet.
Right. Yeah.
So hopefully, we know we've got a lot of work to do.
Sure.
And I'm hoping that we can make it happen. That's my take on it. My side of it is I think we're all concerned about it. And
yeah.
I think as a pet peeve, one of the things that drives you crazy is when people just think it's a big joke.
Right.
They just make jokes online about it. It's like, oh, it's June. It's always, it's called June. It gets hot.
Yeah, right.
That's not going to solve the problem with that kind of an attitude.
Right. Yeah.
People are. I just wish more people would be open-minded about it.
Yeah.
All right. Well, Bill, I do appreciate all the information and all the time that you've spent with us today. And I've learned some things, so I appreciate that. But we're not done. There's one. If you've watched any of the episodes, there is one other little thing that we do on the show called the lightning round.
Okay.
And the lightning round is where we sort of ask you a series of serious, stupid questions, and you just respond with the first thing that comes to mind.
Okay.
What do you say?
Okay. Let's do it.
I thought you'd be. I thought you'd be game. All right. Number one, if a crab walks forward its entire life, is that a philosophical tenet or is it just drunk?
I think it's doing what it evolved to do.
That's all right. Fair enough. What happens when you argue with a thesaurus?
With a thesaurus?
Yes.
You get mixed up with your words.
You have words. That was it. That was the punchline. Yes, you have words.
Oh, yes, you have words with your... I like that. Okay.
Number three, if someone says long story short, does the story sue them for copyright infringement?
Yes.
I would too. I'm telling you. Number four, you travel back in time to meet your past self. Once you stop laughing, do you offer to ghostwrite his first book?
Sure.
But do you think that would change things? Because now you have a much older sense of where it's going or what it is, and wouldn't you be different?
Oh my goodness. Yes, it would be different.
I'd
change them. I wouldn't write so much.
There you go.
Yeah, I would tell myself at a younger that live life a little bit as well as writing.
See, I'm a fan of the time travel paradox, and that's, they say you can't do anything in the past; it'll change the future.
Right.
And you can't meet yourself because you'll vaporize. Oh,
right.
Well, sometimes you do, but sometimes you do other things. If a squirrel buries a nut and forgets where, does the nut grow into a climate denier?
No, it grows into an oak tree.
Oak tree.
And oak tree is the best thing for the environment.
I can go with that answer.
Yeah.
Number six, climbing the ladder may help you get ahead, but where do you go to get a tail?
I'm not going there.
No, it's easy. It's actually.
I will tell you. One of the things that you never want to do with a horseshoe crab is lift it up by the tail, because it will start bleeding and it will kill the crab.
Ah, no kidding. I didn't know that.
Yeah.
But in this case, what we're talking about is the library.
Okay.
A tail.
A tail. Okay.
Let me tell you a tale.
Right. Okay.
That you're just getting a sense of
and it's
my
cool.
My
and it's cool in the
so
library.
That's true.
In two ways.
Yes. All right, last one.
Right.
True or false? Not to make light of it, but the Haverhill wastewater spill is literally a current event.
It is.
And there you have it, folks.
And the other current event that's going on in Washington now is the Strait of Warm Ooze.
That's another, yeah. we could talk a lot on that one, I'll tell you. It's, but I'm trying to behave myself. Anyway, again, that fun. I'm glad you were a good sport about all that. Environmental issues can sound abstract until they show up in the water, on the beach, in the marsh, or in a creature most of us have walked past without understanding its importance. The lesson, I think, is that nature is not background scenery, it's infrastructure, it's history, it's a warning system, and it's our home. We have to live with it. Unless I have to, I love living with it. And like most of us, it doesn't need a town meeting to make its point. It's kind of showing us right now what its point, what we should be considering. Today's guest was Bill Sargent. And again, once again, thank you. You can watch new episodes of the Sane Estate Mondays at noon on YouTube. You can also watch Wednesdays at 7:30 p.m. on ICAM, Ipswich, Comcast Channel 9, and Verizon Channel 33. The Sane Estate, like a hotel, is always looking for new guests. Artists, business owners, rule breakers, civic leaders, organizers, environmentalists, and anyone helping shape life here in Ipswich or who wants to yell at me on air. If you want to get on the show or know someone else who might want to be on the show or could be a good guest, email guest@saneestate.com or visit saneestate.com and fill out the contact form. You bring the story, I'll bring the questions. This has been the Sane Estate. I'm John Wolforth. Until next time, stay kind, stay curious, but most of all, stay sane.